Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to Breakout Session A, how to identify your ideal customer and target them. If you could, please take a second just to open your workbooks to page 12, which will give you an overview of our presentation here this morning, and also a couple bios on our excellent two speakers that we have here. My name's Brian Quinn, and the only function I really have is to introduce these two guys. Then I'm going to let them take over from here. The first speaker that we have here today is Josh Turner from LinkedIn Selling. One interesting fun fact about Josh, I was talking to him earlier this morning, he actually spent in the month of September 4 weeks in Italy. He actually did some working there, but I'm sure quite a bit of fun as well while he was there as well. Our second speaker is Scott Colby of Colby & Company. Fun fact about Scott is that he actually met his wife in a Hardee's, am I right about that? A Hardee's drive-thru when he jumped into the back seat of her convertible. And 16 years later, a happy marriage. So that's never worked for me, unfortunately, here. But I'll go ahead, I'll turn it over to these guys, and hope you have a good breakout session here.
Thanks, Brian. I think I'm good. Can you guys hear me okay? Audio good on this? All right, good. So here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about myself. If you want to read about me, it's in the book. But what we're going to do is basically a two-part presentation. We're going to take a break in between and at the end for you to work on some of the things that we talk about and discuss, and basically come up with some ideas that you can take after this today and start putting in place for your business. I heard a quote on a podcast recently that I really just stuck with me. And what the guy said was, what's cooler than 1 million Facebook likes? 10 or 1 of the right person. All right? And I like that you guys get the reference to the Social Network movie and all that stuff. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I think that where most people go wrong is really the scenario that we've all sat in before, which is you're at a networking event or you're having a coffee with somebody and you say, what kind of people are you looking to meet? Who do you want to work for? And they say, I'm looking to talk to any business owners and quality people. And how does that conversation usually go, right? It usually doesn't go very far. You don't get many good introductions that are great prospects for you. But what happens on the other hand when you say, I'm looking to get in front of CFOs of construction companies that are between 1 and 10 million in revenue? Well, there's a good chance that that's going to bring specific things to that person's mind, all right? So that's kind of one path that I'm going to talk about today. So the first part of this presentation is how to identify your ideal customer, all right? I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about that, and then we're going to take some time for you to work through some of the things that you need to do within your business related to that. And then we're going to talk about ideas for then targeting those people you've identified, and I'm going to go through some examples of some things that I've done in my business related to that. All right, so related to identifying your target client, your ideal prospect, there's a few things that I want to talk about. Number one is understanding the demographics, all right? So when you move past the thought of, I just want to work with any business owner, and you start thinking about more specifics, like what company, what size companies, what industries, what seniority levels, what geography are my best prospects in, what age are my best prospects. Those are all demographics, right? They're facts about these people and about the kinds of companies you want to work with. So I'm not going to spend much time talking about that. I think we all kind of get that. From there, I want to talk about the psychographics, which our good friend Dale here, if you haven't picked up his book, everything I'm going to talk about here I've learned from him. All right, it's Pricing for Profit, and I highly recommend it. But basically, what we're talking about with psychographics is the values, behaviors, and characteristics of your ideal prospect. All right? This example here, are they a Walmart shopper, are they a Macy's shopper, or are they a Nordstrom shopper? And what you want to be thinking about is who are the types of customers that are the best fit for you. All right? If you're the low-cost, low-price provider and you're speaking to a Nordstrom-type person, your message isn't going to resonate with that person. All right? And too many people are going into business conversations trying to sell on value when what their prospects want is image, all right? And so you can see in the workbook on page 13, there's some more information about demographics and psychographics and some of the basics, all right? And what I want to challenge everybody in this room to do, and in just a few minutes, we're all going to take some time to think about it, and Scott and I are going to walk around and answer any questions. We'll take about a 10-minute little break to do this together. Is think about the 3 industries that you've had the most success with, all right? And if it's not the 3 industries, the 3 types of companies, think about 3 niches that your services and products have had the most success in, all right? And on the next page, write those down, all right? And we're going to go through and do this in just a minute. And for each of them, then pull out the demographic information about those industries, all right? And I'm going to show you an example when we get done with this exercise of one of the industries and demographics that we've targeted for my company. And it's CPA firms, accounting firms, that are mostly between 1 and 10 employees in the United States, single owner firms. Those are the kinds of things you want to identify, all right? So what we're going to do is first we're going to talk about identifying the right industries, all right? And if you go to page 14 here in the workbook, you'll see that you got 3 target prospect profiles, all right? And I want to let's take as much time as we need, but no more than 10, all right? So 5 to 10 minutes or so, and go through this and describe that business, all right? Write down, are you targeting construction companies? Is it real estate? Are they CFOs? What kind of positions are you targeting in your business? Is it operations managers? What size are these companies? Are they only in St. Louis? All those kinds of things. So let's take a few minutes and let's do that, all right? And you'll get out of this what you put into it. So if you don't decide that you want to participate, then that's okay. It's your prerogative. But I think if you go ahead and work through this, and then once we're done with this, in the next stage, I'm going to talk about targeting these people, and we're going to really get into the meat of some ideas of how you can best reach these different people in different ways. All right, so let's just take a few minutes and go through that. Scott and I will walk around the room and make sure that everybody's good and answer any questions you have. So let me set the timer, and we'll go for the next 10 minutes. You can probably tell that what I'm advocating here is understanding a few key niches that you can do some serious damage in, and then developing messages that speak directly to those people, all right? Our friend Alan Minster here, I don't know how many of you know Alan, but Alan can probably say it better than me, but I know that Alan has a ton of clients in the banking industry, and that he specializes in helping those banks develop new business through his systems. And why do I know that? Because he talks about it. It's in his marketing materials. It's probably not the only type of business that he can work for, and he's probably got a few niches that he does. But because his marketing is so specific, I know that if I'm talking to a banker and they're talking about this kind of thing, well, I know a guy that helps with that, And that's what I'm talking about here. So I want to walk you through an example of how we've done this in my business. So CPA firms is one of the industries that we identified, that we want more clients that are accounting firms. They're a good fit for us. So what you see here on the screen is our standard services page on our website, okay, that speaks to anybody that might be interested in our services. It's not industry specific, all right? But behind the scenes, we have campaigns running where we're pushing certain types of people to different landing pages that are specific to their industry and talk directly to them. So this is a program that we rolled out, and I'm going to show you how we rolled it out and how we targeted these people for CPA firms. All right? And we did it both offline and online using a few different things. All right? And now this specific approach isn't going to be the right fit for everybody. Of course not. And we can't talk about all the different, the litany of possibilities that you can use for marketing your business and targeting these people. But I just hope you get a sense for the power of this. And really what we're talking about is designing a specific campaign that essentially runs behind the scenes to target these niches, these industries, these ideal customers that you've already identified. Okay, so how do we do it offline? Well, to go back to Mike's question, we built relationships and joint venture partnerships with people who are already serving this audience. So for CPA firms, there's plenty of industry associations out there, plenty of conferences out there, like this one, the Renegade CPA Practitioner Workshop, which is put on by a guy who offers marketing programs for CPAs. He doesn't offer what we offer to them, which is LinkedIn marketing services, all right, and lead generation within LinkedIn. So it was a natural fit. We talked to him, worked out a deal, and that's me speaking at that conference in New Orleans and speaking specifically about how CPA firms can generate leads using LinkedIn, all right? And if the people in this room, as far as they know, that's all my company does, you know? Because that's all I'm talking about, and all the materials and the messaging I'm delivering to them are that specific and focused on their industry, and it just speaks directly to them. And when you do that, and when you stop dumbing down your message to try and attract everybody, the results just go through the roof. All right? Doing these kinds of campaigns has been tremendously successful for us. This is one of the niches of a few that we've done this kind of process for over the last 6, 7 months or so. All right? So where do you find these people online? So that's an offline strategy that we used. All right? Now online, we decided, well, we just did this presentation in New Orleans, and that was really successful. I bet there's a lot of people that we could get to if we turned that into a webinar and did the same presentation but in webinar format. So let's do that. All right, well, how do we get them so that they know about the webinar and get these CPA firms' attention so that they will attend our webinar? Well, we decided to do 2 things, Facebook advertising, and we hammered LinkedIn. And within Facebook, this is a screenshot of our campaign where we spent $800 running ads to target CPAs. If you're not using Facebook advertising to grow your business right now, I mean, I think you're probably missing out, because you can target these people in such a granular, specific way. You know, we can target them based on their interests, what they do, what groups they like, all these kinds of stuff. So we spend about 15 minutes digging around on Facebook, finding the different things that we're going to plug in to our campaign to say, show this advertisement about our webinar to these kinds of people, and they serve it up. Everybody here knows how it works, but very few people are actually taking advantage of it. And we're not talking here about using Facebook advertising to sell info products and online training and all that stuff. This is for services, client services that are paying us thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a year, all right? On LinkedIn, it's another way that a lot of us, especially if you're in B2B, should be targeting people. You can find all sorts of interest groups that your prospects are in, all right? LinkedIn groups. All right, I'm not going to go into depth on what that is, but within those groups, if you search for people based on criteria, you can then send them a message, whether you're connected to them or not, all right? So over the course of a couple weeks, we had a virtual assistant sending out lots of messages like these to people that fit the profile, owners of CPA firms that fit the profile in the right kind of groups in the right cities that we were targeting across the United States. So all that stuff just goes back to what we already did when we were identifying who to reach. Then we did the webinar. You can see on this one we had 354 people that registered for it. And we generated that traffic from LinkedIn and Facebook because we said, hey, I think this is where our audience is. We then did the webinar, and we closed deals after it using that same form that I showed you earlier that said LinkedIn Accelerator for CPAs. And that's the process that we're using to really speak directly to our prospects. And I think for most of the people in the room, if you're not already doing it, you can do it and should do it. All right? It does take work because I think a lot of people think I'm going to just set up this marketing and set up my website and maybe set up my AdWords and that's going to be done. Okay, I've done that. I'm done with it. Well, this is a process of continuously marketing to new niches and refining your message, promoting your business to a really specific targeted audience. And what happens as a result of this is you become really, really well known within these spaces, all right? We had, as a result of these promotions, we got this message in front of so many people that we end up getting invited to write guest articles in magazines like CPA Practice Advisor. And those features and those little interviews they did with me turn into other opportunities, you know? And if I'm just out there trying to position myself as all things to all people, that stuff doesn't happen, you know? And as a result of this kind of stuff, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 12, 13 CPA firms that we've brought on as clients in the last 6 months, all right? So let's take some more time right now and thinking about this, whether offline is the best fit for you, what are the places that you need to be? Where are the places you need to be? What are the things you need to be doing offline? Is it going to industry association events? You know? Is it going to Missouri Venture Forum to meet more people like Bill Purnett? Or is it online? Or is it both? You know? I would argue that it's both for most of us. So let's take a little more time. And for the industries that you've written down, or the prospect profiles, which is a better way to put it, for the 3 prospect profiles that you've identified on that page, let's take a little time and go through and start thinking for yourself and writing down ideas about where you can best reach those people and what kind of tactics, offline and online, are going to be best to get your message in front of them, all right? So be thinking about, you know, if it's online, is it a webinar? Maybe, maybe not. Is it a white paper? You know, we've done that successfully with CPA firms. Taking the similar presentation, boil it down into a white paper instead. Some people just want to cruise through a white paper and get to the meat of it and not sit through an hour-long webinar. Maybe that's the case for your prospects, you know? Maybe it's specific content for those industries. Maybe it's writing a blog that's targeted directly at certain types of people. And then not only do you have the ability to share that content with those people and post that content into the places they're hanging out, but you've got a lot of SEO value there as well for any accounting firm that types in LinkedIn marketing for accountants, for example, Google. So Scott, let's do our thing again. Let's take about 5-10 minutes, and then after that we'll wrap up. So what questions? Peggy, you have a question? Good. Well, thank you for the input. I appreciate it, everybody. And the last thing I just want to leave everybody with, and this should be crystal clear from everything I've been talking about and recommending, is that I don't know any other way to talk about this stuff than just say what's kind of worked in our business and what we've seen work for our clients. So for us, focusing on niches and verticals has opened the doors to growth that I could not have seen coming. And the results from doing this have been awesome. And what's the downside of giving some of this stuff a shot? So think about how can you target these industries behind the scenes, what kind of campaigns can you run to speak as directly as possible to your ideal prospects, and I think you'll see some pretty exceptional results when you do that. So thanks.